The first bell of the semester rang through the bright halls of Maplewood High, echoing off lockers like a promise of new beginnings. Students rushed to their classes, laughing, talking, some dragging their feet and others running to meet friends they hadn't seen all summer. But in the middle of all that noise and movement walked Miss Aria Walker, the new literature teacher, calm and confident, holding a stack of neatly organized papers against her chest. She wasn't much older than her students, 26, elegant, poised, and yet there was a quiet strength in her that drew eyes wherever she went. The rumor mill had already started spinning before she even took her first class. Some said she used to be a martial arts instructor before turning to teaching. Others said she was too soft-spoken, too kind, the kind of teacher students could easily take advantage of. The group most eager to test that theory was a notorious bunch, the senior bullies, Derek, Jake, and Leah, known for their arrogance and love of humiliating anyone they thought weak. The first day of her class started off normally enough. Aria walked into room 212, where sunlight streamed through half-open blinds and a soft breeze stirred the edges of posters about Shakespeare and poetry. She placed her bag on the desk, wrote her name on the board, Miss Walker, and turned to face the class with a warm, welcoming smile. "Good morning, everyone," she began, her voice calm but clear. "I know I'm new here, but I'm hoping we can make this a space where stories inspire us, not divide us." A few students nodded politely. Others exchanged looks. Derek, sitting near the back, smirked. "Stories, huh? Let's hope yours aren't boring, Miss Walker." Laughter rippled through the room. Aria met his eyes without flinching. "Let's hope you're not either," she replied softly, and for a moment, the laughter died. The first week passed quietly, though the group of bullies kept pushing boundaries, talking over her lectures, whispering jokes, trying to get reactions. But Aria's patience was unmatched. Every time they tried to provoke her, she met them with a steady look and continued teaching. The rest of the class began to admire her restraint. Yet, behind those calm eyes, Aria remembered her own high school days, the whispers, the mockery, the bullying she endured. Back then, she didn't know how to fight back. Now she did. By the second week, Derek decided it was time to break the new teacher. He wanted a show, something the whole class would talk about. On Friday, during her literature class, when Aria was writing on the board, Derek whispered something to Jake. They both grinned. The room was quiet, students following along, until Derek stood up suddenly and dropped his pen near her desk. He leaned over as if to pick it up, and in one sudden, disrespectful motion, he grabbed the edge of her shirt, trying to embarrass her in front of everyone. The soft rip of fabric echoed like thunder in the stunned silence. Gasps filled the room. Aria froze for half a second, looking down at the small tear in her blouse. The room seemed to blur, the shocked faces, the nervous laughter, Derek's smug grin, but then, her expression changed. Calm turned to fire. She slowly looked up, meeting Derek's eyes. Her voice, though quiet, carried across the entire room. "Touch me again," she said, "and you'll regret it more than you can imagine." The laughter stopped instantly. Even Jake looked uneasy. Aria turned, fixed her torn shirt modestly, and then continued the lesson as if nothing happened. Her composure was so absolute that even the students who usually joined Derek's antics fell silent. After class, whispers followed her down the hall. Some admired her strength, others thought she was weak for not reacting physically. But inside, Aria knew what she was doing. She wasn't just teaching literature, she was teaching control, discipline, and dignity. That night, in her small apartment, Aria stared at her reflection in the mirror. The rip in her blouse had been small, but the disrespect cut deep. For years, she'd promised herself that she'd never let anyone make her feel small again. Her hand brushed against the old black belt hanging by her bookshelf, a memory of her judo training days. She had once won regional championships, trained under masters who taught her that real strength isn't loud, it's silent until needed, and now, it was needed. The next week, she walked into school with the same poise but a sharper edge in her eyes. The students noticed. Even Derek hesitated to speak up. But his pride wouldn't let him back down completely. He needed to prove he was still in control. "Hey, Miss Walker," he said one afternoon, leaning against the wall outside her classroom as she walked in. "You ever teach self-defense? You might need it." His tone was half joking, half threatening. Aria stopped, looked at him for a moment, and replied with a calm smile, "Oh, I've taught a few lessons, Derek. You'd be surprised what I can do." The smirk on his face faltered just a little. That Friday, a storm rolled over the town. Dark clouds gathered, thunder cracked in the distance. The school buzzed with restlessness. Students were anxious to leave early, but Aria's last period class went on as scheduled. Derek, Jake, and Leah walked in late, laughing, and took their seats with deliberate slowness. Aria greeted them politely and began her lecture on courage, how true courage isn't about dominance, but about standing up for what's right. Her words hung in the air like prophecy. Halfway through the class, Derek leaned over his desk and whispered something crude. The students in front tried not to laugh. Aria paused, turned, and said evenly, "Would you like to share that with everyone, Derek?" He grinned. "Just saying, maybe you should teach us more than literature." A wave of uncomfortable murmurs spread. Aria sighed softly. "You know," she said, walking closer, "every story has a hero, a villain, and a lesson. Be careful which one you decide to be." The tension in the room was electric. Derek opened his mouth to retort, and then, in a moment of reckless pride, he stepped forward, blocking her path. That was when he made the biggest mistake of his life.